After just a few hot days, you may notice the top of your garden soil turning pale and dry. Small cracks begin to form. When you press your finger into it, it feels hard. Water seems to disappear almost as soon as you pour it. Now picture another bed nearby. The sun has been just as strong. The days have been just as warm. But the soil there still feels cool. When you move your hand across the surface, it feels soft. Even after weeks, not just days, the moisture is still there. The difference is not expensive products. It is not constant watering. It is something much simpler. Over many seasons, watching gardens through spring heat and summer dryness, one quiet pattern shows up again and again. Soil that is protected stays alive longer. Soil left bare struggles sooner. If your garden dries out quickly, you are not doing anything wrong. Most gardeners were simply never shown this. Before explaining why this worked, it helps to understand why this matters more than ever. As we get older, the garden should become easier, not harder. Bending every day to pull weeds. Carrying watering cans again and again. These small efforts add up. Mulch changes that pattern. When soil is covered, water does not escape as quickly. The sun cannot bake the surface. Weeds have a harder time pushing through. That means fewer weeds to pull and less watering to do. The soil stays steady without constant attention. Mulch is not fertilizer. It does not directly feed plants in the way compost does. Its main job is protection. It protects moisture. It protects roots from sudden heat. It protects soil life underneath. In very hot regions, that cover keeps soil cooler during long summer afternoons. In colder climates, that same cover acts like a blanket during winter freezes. It slows down sudden temperature swings that can stress plant roots. The goal is not to work more in the garden. The goal is to set up simple protection so the garden works more on its own. Many people believe they must buy bags of mulch every spring. Then again in fall. Over time, that becomes a steady expense. A few bags here and there may not seem like much. But season after season, year after year, it adds up. Some bagged mulches are dyed dark colors. The color looks neat at first. Over time, the color fades. The soil underneath does not care about the color. It only cares about protection. Experienced growers often stop buying mulch once they understand what is already around them. They learn to look at their neighborhood differently. What once looked like yard waste becomes garden cover. Mulch does not need to look perfect. It does not need to match. Nature rarely matches. The first free source is something most neighborhoods have in large amounts every fall. Fallen leaves. Leaves are one of the most overlooked garden helpers. When they fall, many people rush to bag them and set them at the curb. Yet those leaves are light, natural protection for soil. When leaves are shredded, they settle more evenly. They break down a bit faster. Whole leaves can also work, but they may mat together if laid too thick. In warmer regions with humidity, thinner layers help air move through. In colder regions, a slightly thicker layer provides better winter insulation. The key is gentle coverage, not heavy piles. About a few inches is enough to shield the soil without pressing it down. One common mistake is pushing leaves right up against plant stems. Plants need a little breathing room at the base. A small gap prevents moisture from sitting too tightly around the stem. If leaves sit there for months and slowly shrink down, that is normal. Slow breakdown is healthy. It means the soil life underneath is doing its quiet work. The second free source often comes from your own lawn. Grass clippings. When used carefully, clippings can form a light blanket over soil. They help block sunlight from reaching weed seeds. They slow moisture loss. But they must be applied gently. Thick, wet piles of grass can form a heavy mat that can block air. Instead, thin layers allow the clippings to dry slowly. As they dry, they turn from green to brown. You may notice a mild grassy smell during that time. That is simply natural drying. It is important to avoid clippings from lawns treated with herbicides. If you are unsure, it is safer not to use them. A calm choice now prevents problems later. In humid climates, thinner layers are better so air can move through. In very dry climates, slightly thicker coverage may be fine because it dries quickly. Again, the goal is protection, not pressure. The third source may surprise you. Local tree trimming crews often chip branches as they work. Those wood chips usually need somewhere to go. Many crews are happy to drop them off for free rather than pay disposal fees. A polite question can open that door. Community gardens rely on these chips year after year. They cover wide areas with them and see steady results. Fresh wood chips can look rough at first. That is fine. On top of the soil, they are safe. They should not be mixed deeply into the soil, but laid on the surface, they protect just like any other mulch. In colder climates, wood chips guard roots during winter cold. In warm regions, they reduce soil heat during long summers. Over time, they settle and soften. Now the question becomes simple. How much is enough? For most gardens, about 2 to 3 inches creates a steady layer of protection. Less than that may not block sunlight well. Much more than that can feel heavy. Keep mulch slightly away from plant stems and tree trunks. A small space allows air to move. This small detail prevents moisture from sitting where it should not. Spring is a natural time to apply mulch as soil begins warming. Fall is another good moment, especially in colder areas, to prepare for winter. If this feels too simple, that is because it is. More mulch is not better. Thick piles do not mean stronger plants. Balanced coverage gives steady results. After about 30 days, quiet changes begin to show. In the first week, you may simply notice the soil staying darker a little longer. By the 4th week, weeds are fewer. The soil feels softer when you press into it. Watering becomes less frequent. Nothing dramatic. Just steady improvement. Leaves shrink down slowly. Wood chips settle. Grass clippings fade to brown. That slow change is healthy. It shows that the soil underneath is active. Season after season, this pattern repeats. Protected soil stays calmer. Uncovered soil works harder and dries faster. One small habit can make this easier every year. Begin to notice what your neighborhood already offers. Watch for leaf piles in fall. Notice curbside bags set out for collection. Pay attention when you hear the sound of a tree crew working nearby. You do not need to collect everything at once. Even gathering enough to cover one bed can make a difference. If you feel comfortable sharing, what free mulch source is most common where you live? Sometimes hearing from others gives new ideas. Gardening after 55 is not about pushing harder. It is about protecting what you already have. When soil is protected, plants face fewer extremes. When plants face fewer extremes, you face fewer tasks. Healthy soil does not ask for constant products. It asks for steady protection. A simple cover. A quiet shield from sun and wind. When you look at your garden next time, notice the surface. Notice whether it is bare or protected. That small detail shapes everything underneath. In the end, the quiet advantage is this. Do less. Get more.